Hello, everyone out there, and welcome to the Art of Attraction with Dominey Drew. So glad to be back with you this week. I hope everyone's had a fantastic last few days, is enjoying the last few days of summer. Sorry to move some things around here, making some squeaky noises at you. I'm coming to you live on Demon Seed Radio Network and also on Facebook Live via my Facebook business page, which is Dominey Drew Coaching, Consulting, and Speaking. I am your host of The Art of Attraction, Dominey Drew. Thank you so much for joining me today. I specialize, so my story is my job is that I help single men attract life partners through personal and relationship coaching. And this particular podcast and all the posts that I do on Facebook, and I run a program called The Art of Attraction. It's all geared toward helping guys see how it is that they really hold themselves back from what they want. And so on this show, I really try and take different perspectives to really show you how it is these really subtle levels on which we really tend to hold ourselves back, and often we don't even know that we're doing it, and that's a really frustrating thing. You might be able to sympathize with this. I know I certainly can. I was a terrible self-saboteuse perhaps. I just couldn't stop. I was just a pile of self-sabotage, and I've been doing this work myself for about 15 years, and so I now teach this. I teach it on a global scale. And I love it. It's my passion in the world. There's nothing that I enjoyed doing more with my day than helping out my clients, answering questions, and bringing awareness, to these levels that, previously, while something's outside of your awareness, you can't fix it, right? The definition of the subconscious is it's out of your awareness, which means it's out of your control, and that's very important. That's an important distinction to make. So my focus is, I've always been kind of the intense type. I like to go straight to the core of shit. I want to go right to, what is it that's actually happening. I spoke with a friend a while ago who said she'd not been friends for, I don't know, probably 15 years, and she goes, you know what I like about you? She goes, you never fight about anything that isn't the actual problem. And I thought, that's actually a really great quality, because a lot of fights in relationship and in, and even in friendships and in families and things like that, you're having a conversation at dinner around, training the dog, and all these energies come up. I can't believe that you do it that way. It's such a stupid thing. It's like all of this, energy comes out, and you end up fighting. And sometimes you're not even at odds. Your opinions aren't even necessarily contradicting of each other. And that's a really powerful thing. When that happens, when you find that there is just way more issue than there should be, why can't I find anyone? I've had clients call me from the middle of Denver and say there's no women here. Okay, well, there definitely are. There's like 3 million of them or something. So it's not that, right? Your problem is not logical, because if your problem were logical, by definition of it being a problem, you would have, that indicates that you've tried to fix it and been unable to, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't call it a problem. You'd call it a thing. This thing happened and I fixed it, and it's it's not a story anymore. So by the time somebody's on the phone with me, it's a problem, And if it's a problem, that means you've tried to fix it and haven't been able to. Well, why haven't you been able to fix it? Because it's not something that you can fix with your brain, It's deeper than that. So when you have those conversations at the, Thanksgiving table, not that I'm speaking from experience, because I'm definitely not, but so you're in the Thanksgiving table and you're talking about your, whatever it is, the conversation comes up and all this energy comes out, and all of a sudden you're in this big fight. And the reason why there's more energy than that is logical, or that makes sense to that situation is because the emotions aren't about the actual situation. Okay. They're about something that happened, 40 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So, and then that gets triggered. We call that a trigger. Okay. So if you, if you're at the table and something just upsets you wildly, or your partner, checks out another woman, or is flirting with her ex-boyfriend or talking to her ex-boyfriend, because flirting is more subjective, isn't it? So, what is it that's something triggers it and you get so mad, or you get wildly jealous, or you get, something like that? Well, the reason is because some shit happened that scared you early on. And now, that just got touched, that just got triggered. So now what actually ends up happening literally in the moment is you're no longer present. You're no longer in the moment. You're 15 years ago. It's like a literal connection. So you're having a conversation with your partner and everything's great. And then she tells you that she needs to, she's in contact with her, or you see her texting with her ex-boyfriend, and all of a sudden all this story comes up. This has happened to me before. Women cheat and I won't tolerate it. And this behavior is, and all of this is coming from shit that's happened in the past. And you can tell because the logical, reasonable response to that might be, oh, how's your ex doing? And really listening to the answer. And if she dissolves into giggles and blushes, okay, that tells you a little something. But if not, she might just say, oh yeah, he's got this lamp that I left there years ago and I was trying to get it back. Something like that, Or, and here's a crazy idea, you could just ask her. Infidelity is actually, I'm realizing now, something that we haven't actually covered on this show before. So I think I might go ahead and do an episode entirely of that. But just asking, open your eyes, come back to the present moment. She could be a lying cheater, 100%. She also could not be. So you want to risk your relationship by bringing up relationships in the past? Ironically, that's what the whole example's about, by the way, is you being afraid that she's bringing shit in from her past and you're actually bringing shit in from your past. Make sense? So, and we tend to do that also. We'll criticize and see and judge in others things that that we see and criticize and judge in ourselves. And by the way, I didn't really have a topic for today. I just thought that I would get on and answer questions. I'm on Facebook Live right now. I have you can access you can call in on the number. I can give you that number right here. And you're welcome to ask any questions that you have, and I will just answer them live, or I'll teach on whatever comes to mind, or I'll talk about me, or we'll figure some shit out. But if you do want to give me a call, I would love that. The number is 708-793-7769. And again, that's 708-793-7769. Call in with your questions. And if you want to find me otherwise, I'm at domineydrew.com. That's DOMINEYDREW.com. Or I'm on Facebook at Dominey Drew Coaching and Instagram at Dominey Drew. So feel free to connect with me in any of those places, because that is where I can be found. So back to this conversation. So you're talking to this, to your partner. They do something that triggers you. Look, it happens. It's not a big deal. Well, that's not true. It's actually a huge deal in the moment. My school, they used to call them an ER. You're having an ER, which is an emotional reaction. Okay. And here's what's very important about an emotional reaction. What's important about an emotional reaction is that it's not, It's not in response to the current situation. So part of it is real. Yes, she's texting her ex-boyfriend. That's the end of the material fact that we've given about this situation so far, right? All you know is that she's texting. You don't know what it means. You don't know what her intention is. You don't know what they're saying. You don't know, any of this. So it's just this sort of very, actually what really is a very benign situation. But there's all this hullabaloo around it, right? There's all this drama, okay? So when drama comes in, right? Like, oh my God, she's definitely cheating. Yep, it's happening to me again. Oh God, see? There's so much in that. I say that sometimes like, oh, see, like you're right, because that's what we're doing, right? From early age, we form these incredibly powerful assumptions about the world, and then we spend our lives proving ourselves right. So if you ever find yourself, here's a little hack that I just came up with in the moment. If you are, if you find yourself in that type of situation, right? You're objectively, there's something going on that's not from right now. Then you can go to that place. Okay, what part of this is from now, and what part of it is from before? That's the name of the game, right? So if you ever find yourself, here's the hack. If you ever find yourself saying see, to your friends, in your own head, to your partner, yeah, see, there's never any parking. I told you, see, you're proving yourself right, which means A, you created that situation. Let's be real. You picked the time to go when there was no parking. I mean, you will prove yourself right no matter what. You're very, very, very powerful beings, like way more than we realize. And I'm going to come back to that, very powerful beings. And so, when you have that experience, see, it's like, it gives us a little boost of pleasure. Okay. There's a little bit of, feels good. There's pleasure in that. It's called negative pleasure. It's not, it is real pleasure. But it's not like great sex pleasure, right? Like that's like pleasure. And you're like, yes, this feels so good. I could just spend the whole rest of the time making sex noises on the show. And I bet it would get more downloads on the podcast than anything else. So in lieu of doing that, there's that pleasure current, right? Of that like life force. And you're like, yes, there's like a yumminess to it. It's juicy and it's rich and it's beautiful, right? It's spectacular. It feels great. Negative pleasure has a little bit of a different quality to it. Negative pleasure also feels good. But it doesn't, it feels good in a different way. It's like have you ever like been in a fight with a partner and just launched this really snarky response and like it feels kind of good, right? Like it's not, it didn't make the world a better place. It probably didn't help you win the fight. You may have vanquished your partner. Congratulations in the moment. But it didn't solve the fight, right? Because that's not going to solve it. Being right does not solve the problem, gentlemen. And some ladies, really. Being right is a huge form of negative pleasure, okay? I just posted this statement online, a little post or something online, where I was like, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? Either one's fine. Doesn't matter to me. It's not going to affect my life. But I tell you what, the things that people will do to not, to be right is extraordinary. Like look for this in life. Look for it. It's amazing. They will do anything. And it's survival based. So they will literally do anything. Some people will die. They would rather die than be proven wrong. And that's not as crazy of a thing as it kind of sounds like it is, because it's linked to survival. If I'm not right, then who am I? If a lot of your identity is wrapped up in being right, rightness was very important in my family. It really was. And, I'm the youngest by several years. And so I tended to be the least right for the most amount of time. because I didn't know as much. I didn't, in formative years with children, it's, you learn a lot in a year. So if you're only a year older, that's still a big, it's a big shift. Mine were, more than, 4 and 6 years older. So I was always a little bit behind the eight ball, and that's just kind of how it was. And that's an okay thing. But I was behind the eight ball in a family that valued rightness. So often I found myself, getting disempowered. And really, that's not really a victim place, It's only a victim place if I also buy into the need to be right. So if I'm that child, and I am, who's sitting at the table at, 10 years old, and I keep being wrong. I'm trying to keep up with the family and be cool, and because family structures have they have different priorities. Some families are incredibly loving, supportive. The Latin family structure tends to be very just warm and and there's also crazy drama and great romance and passion and craziness and high emotions, and every style has their distortion, right? Every gift has its counterpart or its distortion. We defend using our strengths. So if you're naturally very loving, then you will distort to you will overly love. So for example, I'm a very loving person, and that's a very much a core quality of mine. And you're on there. So there I was. So I was a very loving being, and when I got threatened, I would distort that core quality of being able to love people, and I would default to acceptance. I would make everything okay. That's not love, to be clear. That is not love. It's a distortion of love. So I was naturally very loving, and when something happened that I didn't like, I would become a doormat. I had no boundaries. I had to learn. I had to learn boundaries, learn them. So as in I didn't have any, I had to create them. I had to make them out of magic. I had to pull them from thin fucking air. I had none. I was experiencing something called enmeshment, which is when you're so close with someone that you sort of bond with them, right? And some level of enmeshment is going to be somewhat inevitable, but I would do it a lot. And I did it with my relationship with my mother a lot. And so, who's an incredible woman. But enmeshment's not really good for anybody ever. And so what I would do is, I remember this time, basically I couldn't tell the difference between me and her. So I couldn't tell what I wanted, for example. I just couldn't tell. I didn't know what I wanted. And for the people who are joining me on Facebook Live, this is really just an open Q&A session. So if you have questions, please throw them at me and I will go ahead and answer them live. And for everyone else, I'll just give you that number again to call in if you have questions. It's 708-793-7769. And again, that is 708-793-7769. Okay. So enmeshment. So my mother and I, basically, I couldn't tell what I wanted. I could only tell what she wanted. So, and she's a strong personality, right? And so am I. But it was so distorted, right? I just couldn't stand up for myself. Is basically. I couldn't stand up for myself. I truly believed that if I said no to someone, that it meant that I didn't love them. And that was such an intolerable feeling for me. I couldn't bear it. I couldn't tolerate it. It was so painful. And it got really bad, with my the enmeshment with my mother. I remember, skipping in one day. I'm a pretty obnoxiously cheerful person pretty much all the time. And, came in skipping, I'm 12, and, came in skipping from outside, and she was going through something. I can't even remember what it was, but she was in tears. And I went into the room and I went right to her And within about 30 seconds, I was crying. I was in tears. So there was like no boundary. You learn boundaries. If you don't have them, then that they're not there. And it's not a final thing. Like you can, we can fix this. Don't worry about it. So, and the thing about boundaries, another thing that I remember from that time period, I was probably older, maybe about 19 or 20. I was at a workshop. I was at a pathwork workshop, and I was walking from wherever I was to wherever I was going, and someone was coming along the path to me. And the intention there is to become more conscious, is to notice what you're doing. And so I was doing that. And this person came towards me, and they were just passing by. I didn't know them well. And I looked up at them, and I gave this big, bright smile. And then I said, hello, hi, how are you? And then we walked on past. And it occurred to me as I walked past that I hadn't thought beforehand whether or not I wanted to smile at her. That thought had never crossed my mind. I just defaulted to smiling. It didn't even occur to me to go, am I feeling happy right now? Do I like this person? Do I want to smile? I don't know, because I was on fucking autopilot. It was cheerful, very socially acceptable autopilot, but autopilot nonetheless, right? And that was a very disempowering, or I suppose it was an empowering moment of realizing that I wasn't even asking myself permission to smile. I was just defaulting to what I thought that they wanted to see. So this is the love mask, right? It's like, oh, well, how can loving be a defense? This is fucking how. Without my consent, I was on autopilot. I'm on default. I have to have you love me because my survival is based on it. That's what these defenses are, right? And that's just the form that my particular one took, based on my core qualities and my, childhood wounding and my defense structure. So, and then when I was able to clear all that, when I was able to check in and learn and realize that, boundaries are okay. Boundaries are okay. And then the next step, which is boundaries are essential. They really are. I think a lot of people have, beliefs around people being in relationships with people, and when you're in a relationship with a person, you need to share everything, you need to do everything together, or you need to love each other all the time, or the sex always needs to be amazing. It's like, okay, well, so life is still going to happen. Yeah. So, be aware of that. Be aware of what it means. In my course, here's a little free peek in one of the weeks, we do an exercise that is just, go on a piece of paper and write down the words relationships are, and then finish the sentence. Whatever is true for you, whatever is the first thing that comes to you. And it helps to breathe first. Maybe you need to do some of that right now. So as that, as you breathe, you come down into your body a little bit more, you become a bit more present, right? And you're able to see more clearly, because otherwise, we have these stories, these voices running in our head all the time, which, by the way, is also fixable. Mine are gone after about 30 very active years. They are actually gone, which is great. And so, anyway, these things are going on in our head all the time. And if we're able to drop into our body, we get more of a real answer. So that's why I really emphasize that in our work. So, hi, everybody on Facebook. Hello. Hi, Jeff. Good to see you guys. So, we do have a question. So, and I want to sort of link this into this lack of, this lack of boundaries, or how exactly that happens. And the question is, how do you deal with anxiety? And this is a very, I get this question a lot. I have a lot of clients whose main, presenting complaint is you're too scared to go to approach women, right? Approach anxiety is what we call that. And that could come from a number of different things. It could come from a lack of confidence, self-doubt, very negative self-talk. I was just on the phone with someone the other day who said, yep, I want to go out. And then I hear this voice in my head that says, she will never go out with you anyway. Or she's probably taken, or she's, don't even bother. And they psych themselves out and they never approach. And then they wonder 30 years later why they're still single. So anxiety is a big one. It's a big one around women. And what I tend to, Curtis, I'm not quite sure how you meant this, and you're welcome to reply back and let me know if I'm getting off track here. But with women, it tends to be around the fear of rejection. So if anxiety is something that you struggle with, check in and see if something about that might resonate for you. Anxiety is fear, right? I wouldn't have thought that would need to be a distinction, but the people that I've met who have struggled with anxiety for 20 plus years, when I said, oh, you're anxious. Okay, well, what are you afraid of? And they looked at me and they were like, nobody's ever asked me that. In 13 years of therapy, nobody had ever asked. So anxiety is a low level of fear all the time, right? It's like having stress in your system. It's very hard in your system. I don't know all the details of what exactly it is that's in your system. Maybe cortisol is in your system all the time that's evoked by stress, and a low level of, and it's made to, and we've got some nurses and doctors, I think, on Facebook Live. So if you'd like to comment and correct me, please do. But the purpose of those chemicals is to get you off your ass and out of danger, right? Your brain's like, oh my God, something terrible is happening, quick, go. And so you go fear response. Oh, okay, that means danger. Otherwise we wouldn't have evolved because we would have gotten eaten by things. So that means danger, great, run away. Okay, or fight, or whatever it is that, that's appropriate in the moment. But but then it's supposed to go down. It's supposed to go down. So your system spikes and you go, holy shit, I gotta get out of here. And you get out of there and then you calm down. And your parasympathetic nervous system kicks in and you can relax. Okay. So if you're experiencing anxiety, that means that's not happening. Okay. There's like a low level of worry all the time. And it's exhausting. That's what I've seen. And I used to do this. I never really suffered from anxiety, but I did worry all the time. I would just, I don't know. I was worried about everything. I would project myself out into the future. And this is what a lot of these guys who have this approach anxiety deal with. They project themselves out into the future. They decide it's not going to work, and they stress about it, right? Or they give up immediately. And so in that particular scenario is exactly what happened, right? He goes up, he feels a desire, right? Because there's attraction, and attraction is desire, essentially. Never really made that exact connection, so I'm checking to make sure I'm exactly right there. There's more in it. It is a literal attraction. It's a pulling towards. It's two magnets coming towards instead of repelling. Okay, so we associate attraction with, sexuality or beauty. Okay, attraction is not beauty; those are two different things. But attraction is really it's a visceral pull. You're like, yes, I have to go towards that. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to run my business in the area of attraction, because it's completely authentic, right? You can't pretend it's there when it's not, and you can't pretend that it's not there when it is. Right? So it's very honest. So if you're repeatedly attracting the same negative relationship, okay, that's really good evidence. That's really good information. Now we can take this information and we can, move forward with it or not. Right? So, but okay, I'm always attracted to the bad boys, or I'm always attracted to women who cheat or anything like that. Okay, great. What is it that's attracting you to that? But you've got that solid like data point there. Does that make sense? So with anxiety, you've got that sort of low level of stress all the time. And you know what I have found, Curtis, about anxiety is that people who suffer from anxiety tend to spend a lot of time out in the future. I think that's what initiates the worry. And then people who struggle from depression tend to be focused on the past. Okay. So anxiety is, it's worrying. It's worrying about stuff that hasn't happened yet. There has to be a disconnect. You have to let go of what might happen. And look, I'm saying that very easily here. And of course, that may not be easy for you to do if you suffer from anxiety, but that is the most direct path. Okay. First of all, what are you afraid of? Maybe it's everything. I don't know. Great. You can either let yourself feel that. It's always a good idea because pushing emotions away does not make them go away. Right. And then disconnect from the outcome. And there's a real vulnerability there. That's what that feels like to me, to let go of that. It requires you to trust, which I'm going to guarantee you have trust issues if you're struggling from anxiety, because the whole thing is, I'm not sure how this is going to work out. Or I'm sure I know how it's going to work out and it's not going to be good. Right. So yeah. So Joey just asked, is this like sacrificing feeling well now to be better for the future? It's not quite like that. That would be, say, maybe the undistorted core quality there, or the undistorted positive intention there. But what it ends up, that might be what you're telling yourself. If you suffer from anxiety, is like, well, I have to worry about this now so that it doesn't happen in the future. So I protect myself in the future so that the future is better. But better than what? You're playing the wrong game. Nothing's happened yet. What if it's pure heaven ahead? But somebody who suffers from anxiety is probably never going to see it that way, right? And they're not concerned about it being too good in the future, right? And if they are, it's probably going to be something like, well, then I need to get better so I can really fully enjoy that. I mean, it's like something, the pattern will recreate itself, right? And Adrian asked if there's a parallel between anxiety and panic attacks. I imagine so. That's a little bit on the edge of my realm of expertise. That's more sort of something happening chemically in the brain. So if you're not in a panic attack, I can help you work through the fact that you get them. But that's sort of more going into psychiatry there, and that's not my area of expertise. But with anxiety in general, if you experience panic attacks, it's like, okay, so what is the fear? Like, there's a couple of things that you can do in the moment if you're experiencing a panic attack. And again, this is not my realm of expertise. This is just what I've found, some things that work. So I'm just want to be clear on that. I'm not pretending to be a psychiatrist, because I am not. But what I've seen is that, it's the thing about anxiety and about depression, about things that are really extreme like that, is that they feel all encompassing. Okay. There's no way out and it's everywhere. Like, I'm anxious. Well, you're not. You're a person who is currently feeling anxiety. See the difference? It may seem small. It is not. It is very large. Because in the one sense, you're utterly helpless. And you might be helpless anyway. I'm not saying this is going to matter from, oh my God, this is never going to end. This is the world's ending. This is absolutely terrible. I can't handle this, to, oh God, this feeling is so uncomfortable. Well, that's a much more manageable statement, isn't it? Instead of, everything's going to end and I'm going to die, which is how anxiety has felt to me the times that I've felt it. And in that moment, right, you're walking up to this woman that you're attracted to, that you want to, that you want to approach, and Yeah, I mean, there was a fear of rejection, really. It's not even so much the unknown. It's like, I mean, but it is the unknown. And again, another very natural fear, right? As humans, we are supposed to be, we are made to be afraid of the unknown, because if we all go into, dark caves where we can't see the back, then, half of us get eaten by saber-toothed tigers that are hanging out in there. So, so we were like, well, maybe we'll go ahead and skip this cave and go to one where we can see, what's going on, or we can, we know we're safe. So fear of the unknown is extremely logical, as far as a physiological level, right? So yes, the fact of the matter is that woman you go up to might reject you. Do you know how often I get rejected? Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. I get rejected a lot. That's not an uncommon thing. People sort of think they get on dating sites and nobody responds, but that would never happen to me, or that would never happen to women. It fucking happens. I got ghosted like 3 times. It's like, it should happen. It does. It's not a big deal. Well, it's not a big deal to me because I've done a huge amount of work. The fear isn't necessarily the rejection. It's almost like the fear perpetuates itself, as Joey's saying. Yes, it's a fear of real possibility. So yes, she might reject you. Her rejecting you is not really that scary of a thing if you look at it by itself. Remember the conversation at the Thanksgiving table? Okay, we're having a conversation about the dog, but really I'm mad at you for stealing my boyfriend when you were 14, or whatever. That didn't actually happen. I just made that up because I didn't have boyfriends at 14. Anyway, so you get, so then all of a sudden there's all this buildup, right? Now it's not just like she's going to reject me. It's like she's going to reject me because I'm a piece of shit and no one's ever going to love me and I'm terrible and, I deserve this. And obviously she's not going to want you. Obviously she's not going to want you. Can you feel the harshness there on your own system? Can you feel how like cruel you're being to yourself in that moment? Can you imagine behaving that way towards someone else? It can be a good litmus test, Well, how do I feel about this anxiety? Of course she's right. She's perfection and I'm terrible. I mean, that's essentially what you're saying in your head when you're afraid of approaching a woman, right? So if you saw someone else, if your friend was there and they were saying, there's no way she's going to love me. I mean, look at me, look at her. God. Would you turn to them and be like, yeah, you're probably right. You don't stand a chance. And I don't mean like fucking around. I mean, actually mean it. Probably not. We tend to be much kinder to other people than we are to ourselves. It's an interesting phenomenon. So hopefully that answered the question about anxiety. I got another question here. With regards to boundaries and lack of acknowledgement, what are some ways to appropriately acknowledge compliments? Boy, I used to be terrible at this. I was so bad. People would tell me I was great at something and I did not even hear it. I brushed it off like energetically. If it came towards me, I would almost like just let it pass me rather than having to own my own self-worth. And I think that when it comes to not being able to accept a compliment, that's really is what it's about, your self-worth. And I had profound amounts of self-hatred. I mean, a lot of self-hatred. So now I come across very confident and I have a lot of self-love and I can talk about how easy being rejected is. That's after a lot of work. Please understand that that's after a lot of work. Okay. I was not magically born without insecurities. I was a goddamn mess of insecurities for at least 25 years. So, and that's okay. That was my path. Right? That was the path I had to take to bring me to where I am now. So I wasn't able to do that at all. People would, I don't know, tell me I looked good in something. I genuinely can't even remember what people told me because I didn't even hear it. So if you were to be like, oh, what's a compliment that people used to give me a lot? I genuinely, and I'm being totally honest right now, I can't think of one. I don't, I don't think that's because no one ever complimented me on anything. I think I just didn't hear it, or maybe nobody complimented me, but it's all the same to me now. So then one day, and I rode horses, by the way. I rode horses for about 25 years, pretty intensively, and I was quite good at it. I was about 3 levels below the Olympics, and it was something that I put 25 years of my life into. That was somewhere I had definitely gained skill. And somebody asked me one day if I was good at riding, if I was an accomplished equestrian. And I laughed and sort of, brushed it off. And for whatever reason, in that one time, I stopped and I thought, oh, well, that's not true. That's not true. You're lying. It's an untruth if someone says, oh, you're really good at that, and you are really good at that, and you say, no, I'm not. That's an untruth. You're dishonoring yourself. Why would you do that? What good does that create in the world? Do they like you more because you're not good at something? Do you like you more because you're not good at something? Are you afraid of being arrogant by owning your own gifts? I worked my ass off for 25 years to be that good at horseback riding. And suddenly in that moment, I thought, that's not true. I'm actually really good at this. I may not be good at anything else in the damn world, but all we're talking about is this one thing. Are you good? And I thought, oh, I can hold my own. I was jumping like 5-foot fences. That's a big deal, And but it was so painful. It was so uncomfortable for me to stand in my own power and to own my positive qualities. It was so difficult that I just chose not to do it. So what shifted in that moment, and I'm really just looking at this now, I just saw it differently. Suddenly it was I felt differently about it. I just sort of realized, it was like a realization, suddenly I realized, I'm pretty good at that thing. And it wasn't difficult to be okay with that. Look, when you find yourself in these situations, you're coming up against something, people are giving you compliments, you don't like it. You can also ask people to stop if you want, but it's probably worth, looking at what the issue is, because again, that's a trigger, What is it that's so intolerable about having someone think that you're great? What do you think that means? And then when you're ready, you can look at what it actually means. But first, what do you think it means? I just thought I was genuinely not worth anything inside. And so that didn't match my life experience. Remember, we talked about proving yourself right. That didn't prove me right. That did not match my beliefs. So I didn't accept it. I genuinely cannot remember any compliments from when I was a kid. I can't remember one right now. I'm actively trying in the moment. They didn't stick. I'm just realizing the significance of what I just said. Those things didn't stick. How fucking cool is that? They went right by me. I chose my life experience. We choose our life experience. We do it on a psychological level, which is a lot easier to point to on this show. But we also do it on a mental level, emotional, spiritual, energetic, physical. My physical body changed. The whole love mask shit that I was doing, there was so much. Oh, and this ties into the compliments as well. I was drawing other people's boundaries for them. Here's what pisses me off about people not accepting my compliments. It dishonors me. This is my own personal opinion. Okay, this is from me, Dominey. It dishonors me. If I go, wow, you did a really incredible job. Now, I speak from truth. Okay, so I'm not going to say it. I'm not the type that's going to blow sunshine up your ass. I'm just not that type of person. I'm not going to tell you you're particularly good at something if you're not. I'm not going to tell you you suck at it. But, before I speak, I ask myself if it's true, kind, and necessary. I started doing that when I was about 14 or 15. And it created quite a difference in my life. So I mean it. I'm not going to tell it to you unless I mean it. I'm a rather direct person now. Didn't used to be. That's new. Anyway, so in that moment, if I go, wow, you're really good at that, and they go, no, I'm not. Oh, literally in my head, I just went, well, then what the fuck am I doing here? Like it's for some reason it feels to me like it dismisses me as someone who just gave you that compliment, like I'm wrong, or I'm not quite wrong. I feel unseen personally as I'm like walking through that scenario right now with you guys. I feel unseen, it's dishonoring of both myself and of you, the person trying to ask me if I'm good at horseback riding, to tell you that I'm not, if I am. It's untrue. It's unnecessary. And it's unkind. Yeah. So anyway, with the the compliments, it comes down to a self-worth thing, and it's it's one day you're going to be ready to tolerate it, and other days it's not. You're not, and that's okay. And these old habits, and they die hard, and that's all right. Take your time, a step at a time, but know that consider the possibility. What if someone out there thought you were great? They're the ones thinking it. So it's not like if you're like, oh, but I know I'm not. That's okay. Can they think it? Would that be okay with you? Right? So there's this way of honoring reality that I think comes in here a lot as well. With the anxiety too. What's really likely to happen? What could that woman that you find attractive actually do to you that would be worthy of this much fear? What could she do? Pull a gun? Come after you with a knife for telling her that she's pretty? What are you actually basing this on? That's actually one of the ways that I work with my own anxiety, and this might work for you or it might not, but I remember I would put myself in the worst case scenario. Be like, okay, I'm really nervous about, let's see, getting a new apartment, something like that. Okay. And I wasn't normally, because I moved like a huge amount, and I would kind of just randomly show up in some country and get a place there and live there for a while. But let's say I'm really nervous about getting to a new apartment. So then I go, okay, I'm really scared. What's the worst case scenario, right? Like as a tactic, what's the worst as a way of understanding the fear? Fine, I'm afraid. There might be something worth being afraid of. Let's at least look at it. Great. I don't go in being like, get rid of this fear. Okay, the fear is here. I'm honoring reality. That's what we're coming back to. That's what this is about. Honoring reality. Okay, what is real and what am I making up in my head? I mean, it's like finding your own delusions. But a fucking Where's Waldo book. Where are my delusions? So, and it can be kind of a mess and kind of I feel it's like a knot of ivy that's all like put together and you're having to work through it. I get it. That's why I created what I created. That's what my course does. It takes you through it, step by step. And I got clients who watch on Facebook Live, and clients who come on Facebook Lives with me and podcasts, and I post their successes on my Facebook page, because this is a way through. It's a methodical, proven process that takes you from point A to point Z, because on your own, look, I'm 15 years down the road, and I've been okay for, a few, but I wouldn't say it happened, in months. Like I created a huge amount of change. And what I've been able to do is accelerate that process. So how much would you rather work on this directly for, 8 weeks, for 2 or 3 months, and find all of these ways that without even meaning to, you totally hold yourself back, you totally delude yourself. I mean, it's not a very flattering word. I'm sorry to use that word, but that is basically what's happening. You're deciding she doesn't like you without giving her the chance. What if she was your dream girl? What if you're her dream guy? And you're taking that opportunity from her. What if you're what she's always wanted, even though she's hotter than you ever thought than you could get? You self-sabotaging yourself, you having a lack of self-worth, you not taking compliments does not make the world a better place. Do not think that it does. It serves no one. She's not happy that you turned around and left. You know, at some point I started going up to people and telling them how attractive I found them. You know, do you know why I did that? Because someone one time when I was 24, I think I was living in San Francisco, and someone told me I was pretty. That didn't happen much. Okay. That did not happen much. And I still remember it. I still remember it. People don't, if you go up and compliment someone without really an agenda of it going anywhere, nobody does not like that. If they've got issues around it, that's their own damn problem, but that's not about you. And most people don't. They're just as insecure as you are. So, and to not give them that opportunity not only dishonors you, wildly dishonors her, because now you've made her into this woman who's like, ugh, God, no. That is a very cruel response, by the way. Any woman ever responds, if you ever go up to a woman in a totally appropriate way, don't like stick your hand up her skirt, but like you go up to a woman, you say, listen, you know, it's a beautiful dress, or, you know, I love your hair, something that's just purely love-based, and they respond with, ugh, and walk away. Honey, you just dodged a fucking bullet. You are welcome. That is the best thing you could have done, because that is a cruel response to someone who's openly engaging you and openly, you know, complimenting you. So that's just bitchy. Like there's that please do me a favor and do not make that about you. Okay? I will tell you when it's about you. If you are pretending that she doesn't want you without asking, that's you. Okay? If she's a bitch when you go up to her, well, then she's just a bitch. Then that's not who you want. Is that who you want to date? Someone who treats men that way? That's not good. Okay? That's not any better than men mistreating women. It's exactly as bad. Okay? So, and then you know, the other thing, and it comes back to the compliment thing as well, is that you're drawing her boundary for her. She gets to decide whether she wants you or not. That is up to her. Now, that also can be a little scary, right? Because there's vulnerability. What if she doesn't want me? Yeah, she might not. Yep, got a 50-50 shot. How badly do you want a life partner? How ready are you to settle down and get married and have children and have the life that you've been planning? Do you want to wait longer? Is it worth a 50-50 shot? Which, by the way, is extraordinary odds. That's I'd bet on just about anything with that, right? So, you know, she might or she might not. Don't press it if she doesn't. It's okay. She wasn't the one. All right, let's try something else. But do you see how when you take away the fear, the terror, the anxiety, the worry, then it's a whole different game. It's a whole different game. And it is neither. This brings me to another story. When I was young, I broke up with a boyfriend, and he was heartbroken. Like, it was really, really, really hard for him. This was very much in my love mask days. And I remember, and it was not right. I didn't wish, I think that we should be together or anything like that. But I was having a very, very, very difficult time causing another human that much pain. That was extremely difficult for me. So I remember I was on the phone with my mother, and she's also done a lot of this work, and she was quite a bit ahead of me at that time. And I was like, Mom, this is what it feels like on a soul level. It feels like taking a piece of freshly split wood, putting your bare hand on it and just running it along the along the grain, where all the splinters like come into your hand. And I remember, and that's exactly how it felt. Like in my soul, this is how it felt. I may have been a tad dramatic, but it was very, very, very painful. And I was like, I just want to fix it. Maybe I should get back together with him. I couldn't tolerate, I just couldn't tolerate hurting someone like that. And she says to me, I'll never forget it. She says, Dominey, it is neither your job nor your right to keep him from feeling his feelings. Because I was trying to save him, right? Oh, his feelings are bad and I'm the cause of them, and so I'm bad. None of that is relevant. You don't know his journey. Maybe this is the kick that he has, the kick in the ass that he needs to go and save the world. I don't know. It's neither my job nor my right to protect him, quote unquote, or to keep him from painful emotions. Pain is a part of life. We go through it. The point is to go through, come out the other side. So don't draw boundaries for others. Don't decide that you know what they want and then do that. It's okay to let yourself shine. It can be vulnerable. You might get hurt. What difference does it make? You're hurting now. You're hurting now. Why not take a risk at something better? If you still hurt, great. Nothing's changed. 50-50. And those are pretty good odds. So if this has piqued your interest, if you want to work on this, if you're ready to fix this, then I really encourage you to visit my website, okay, DomineyDrew.com. If you want to go straight to where I'm going to send you when you send me that, it's DomineyDrew.com/hello, just HELLO. And that's going to take you to a short video of me talking about who I am and what I do and how I work. And then it gives you the opportunity to book an appointment with me. So all of this, these patterns, these stories, everything that you've been struggling with for so long, there's a way out. So when you're ready, give me a call. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. It's a great show. I appreciate you letting me meander. I will be with you again next week. Thank you for downloading. All of these shows are available on podcast. We're on Google Play. We're on iTunes. We're on Spreaker. We're on Spotify. So please feel free to download the episodes. You can find past episodes on YouTube. And if they help, then by all means. So thank you again for joining me, and I will speak with you soon. Take care, guys.